Comparative Communication Studies for ASEAN, Module 2, Lesson 2.1, Communication in the U.S. In this lesson, you will learn about two topics: an overview of communication in the U.S. and the U.S. communication situation and comparative studies. An overview of communication in the U.S. When we're talking about the country profile of the U.S. is ranked number 14 in the ITU ICT Development Index in 2014. It is classified as an upper middle income economy according to the World Bank. 28% of its population live in urban areas and 80% live in rural areas. So communication, consumption, and penetration in America are so high. At least more than 2 million Americans can access broadband, 86% can access internet, and 78% are the mobile user of penetration rate. So as we can see that Americans have access to a variety of communication through device and variety of communication service. When we talk about the communication in the U.S., we cannot avoid talking about the main regulator, whose responsibility in the telecommunication and broadcasting sector. The key public authorities that are responsible for regulating telecommunication and broadcasting sector is called FCC, or Federal Communication Commission. It is in charge of regulating interstate and international communications by radio, television, wire, satellite, and cable in all 50 states, District of Columbia, and the U.S. territory. FCC was established by the Communication Act of 1934, and it was amended by the Telecommunication Act of 1996. FCC have 5 commissioners. All of them are appointed by the President. It is confirmed by the U.S. Senate for a 5-year term. However, since it was selected by the President, so they try to guarantee the balance between the different political parties. So, in FCC commissioners, 3 of them can be of the same political party in a particular town. So, and also they cannot have financial interest in any commission-related business. And all commissioners, including the chairman, have 5-year terms, except when filling an unexpired term. FCC have responsibilities in 5 topics. First, they promoting competition, innovation, and investment in broadband services and facilities. Supporting the nation's economy by ensuring any appropriate competitive framework for the unfolding of the communications revolution. Encouraging the highest and best use of spectrum domestically and internationally. Revise media regulations so that new technology flourish alongside diversity and localism. Providing leading in strengthening the defense of the nation's communication infrastructure. In addition to the FCC, who oversee all the communication sectors, both telecommunication and broadcasting, in America, they also have local franchising authority, or we call LFA. LFA is the local or state entity empowered by the federal, state, or local law to grant a franchise to a cable company to operate in a given area, which means each state. Local franchise authorities are authorized by the relevant U.S. federals, and before it can regulate basic service, LFA or local franchise authorities must be certified to do so by the FCC anyway. LFA are also authorized to enforce FCC rules and guidelines in the following areas, such as customer service, franchise fees, which cable company pays to the LFA for the right to access public right of way to offer cable service in each area. So, after we have learned about the regulator in American communication systems, now we go through media market structure. We start with newspaper. In the U.S., around 62.5 million newspapers circulate in U.S. Many U.S. newspapers circulated based on local areas, especially in a large metropolis such as New York City, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles. Major newspapers in the U.S., for example, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, LA Times, Chicago Tribune, and also others. During the past 2 decades, American newspapers facing a decline or stagnant circulations because of the competition from other kinds of new media, for example, cable channels, network television, radio, and especially internet. So, since the decline or stagnant of its circulation, it caused some newspapers merge to other media conglomerates, or some newspapers and magazines stop print version and focus on online versions. Some merging of the media conglomerates among newspapers and other companies, such as in 2008, Wall Street Journal was sold to News Corporations, who also the media conglomerates who own Fox News stations and also 20th Century Fox films industry. Some other newspaper and magazines stop print versions, for example, Newsweek, which is issued in the last printed version on December. Some newspapers and magazines stop printed version and focus on online versions, such as Newsweek, which is a news magazine's coverage of current affairs. It issued the last printed version on December 2012. When it comes to the broadcasting sectors, most of broadcasting in America is commercially operated based on this model, which is similar to many ASEAN countries. Only 2 of them are non-commercial, which is PBS or Public Broadcasting Service and NRP or National Public Radio. These 2 are non-commercial. Most commercial broadcasting in America gain revenues from advertising sales, but for non-commercial, it gets support from contribution and government funding. All Americans can access to broadcasting program either free-to-air, satellite, cable, and internet. In 2009, the U.S. tried to digitize its broadcasting and planned to shut down the analog system. For the film industry, we might know the word Hollywood, which is well known for American film industry. It has a profound effect on cinema across the world since the early 20th century. The market value of box office is more than 10,000 million in 2014. It screened almost 40,000 and it's also productions more than 800 to 1,000 movies per year. But anyways, we can find one thing is that 6 major film companies dominate 90% of the market, even have a large amount of market values. That 6 companies include Paramount Pictures, Warner Brothers, 20th Century Fox, Columbia Pictures, Walt Disney, and Universal Studios. As we can see in the table that since there are many studios, but it also under a conglomerate, media conglomerate that we are already known their names. For example, Time Warner, News Corporation, Sony Corporation, Walt Disney, and General Electric. If we see the 5 leading media in U.S., we can find that they have a large market values, more than $140 billion. From Walt Disney, Comcast have more market value more than $129 billion, and 20th Century Fox is the merger, Viacom, and Time Warner. So, as we have talking about the U.S. communication situation in general, you can see that there are some communication situation in the U.S. that is critical to discuss. The first one, we will talk about the freedom of expression. In the U.S., freedom of expression is currently by laws, which means press freedom was circulate. It's a critical factor in the formation of American republics because the role is guaranteed by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution in 1789, which means the First Amendment stipulates that the Congress of the U.S. cannot or should not enact any laws to prevent freedom of the press. That means the freedom of expression in America is very high. But during the past decades, 2 decades, the decline of newspaper circulations that caused the print versions of many newspapers affected by the competition of a variety of communication channels and media, such as new media in internet and other kinds of media. So many newspapers try to increase their online version or either merging with others media company. Media and acquisition and media ownership issue become one critical issues that could discuss in American communication situations. They are merging between many media conglomerates. That means large media industry controlled by a few corporates, as we can see in either film industry or broadcasting industry. So many argue that more choice doesn't mean they have a variety or reflect the diversity of the content, since even they have a few corporates and large media company, but most of the choice or the content of the medias are quite not so different. Another issue is about intellectual properties and the common share of the knowledge, since people can access internet and sharing information. So many of them have argued that should it be then intellectual properties controlled or it's a common share of knowledge that we should provide to the public. So after you study the communication in the U.S. topics, please read the reading assignment and do the assigned assessment exercise. Discuss the pros and cons of the merging and acquisition in the U.S. media industry. Please discuss from both supply side, which means as a media companies, what is the pros and cons, and from the demand side, which is the consumer side. The merging and acquisition of the media industry, does it have any advantage or disadvantage for the consumers? Please answer why and what is the effects of merging and acquisition.